Fahy, and today I'm on a bit of a walking tour of Galway City, and I came to this place that I've never been to before, and it's actually got a literary connotation because it's called Jekyll, and believe it or not, Hyde is down here, so we've got Jekyll and Hyde, and over this side we've got Wilde. So if we think of Oscar Wilde, Jekyll and Hyde, you can see why this place attracted me for our Culture Night video. You're very welcome to our Culture Night video 2024. We are launching our new anthology, the anthology for 2025. We've also published our very first novel. It's called A Normal Couple by Olga Peters, and a book of short stories by Mary Rose Tobin called The Life and Times of Jimmy Mullins. So it has been a very productive year. It's the first year that Write On has published 3 books in the year.
May I send my very best wishes to all those participating in this evening's Write On event. Write On is a wonderful initiative from Westside, enabling as it does the gathering together of talented local writers, enabling them to exchange ideas, progress their work, and give support to new and emerging writers from your community and its surrounds. Tonight is a celebration of how your shared creativity has culminated in the publication of a new anthology of stories, poems, and other writings, some of which you will be offering this evening. That is a wonderful achievement of which you can all be very proud. Tres Liamliv. And may I thank you for how you are working for the accessing and supporting of the cultural space. Baruch Tranaheran as President of Ireland, I'm deeply grateful to all of you, including all of you gathered here this evening, for all of your work. The creativity that you are sharing and that so defines you has a vital role to play in making safe the cultural space for now and into the future. I wish you success, Ganairiliep, as you continue to make your unique contribution to the shaping of that shared and better future. May you have a most enjoyable evening and every success as you continue with your artistic endeavours. Gwim gakra are, erur nirachti inish agus an taoki, is berbanacht, slán.
My name is Helena Clare. I'm from Galway originally and have lived in High Point, North Carolina for many years. I'm walking here on one of the many walking and hiking trails that surround our High Point city lake. As you can see, the lake is surrounded by dense woodlands. This is characteristic of much of North Carolina. On our walks we catch glimpses of deer, beaver, heron, egret, and turtles, and I never tire of seeing them. I joined the Write On group earlier this year, having heard of it through a school friend, Mary Rose Tobin, a founding member of the group. For anyone thinking of creative writing, I would suggest joining a group such as Write On. The encouragement and constructive feedback I've received since joining has been hugely beneficial. I'm thrilled that my short story, Gone the Heather, Gone the Hawthorn, was chosen to be included in this year's anthology. It's about Christy, who left Connemara, a place he loved, to go to the United States, and kept his memories of home alive for as long as he could. I hope you enjoy it.
Gone the Heather, Gone the Hawthorn by Helena Clare, read by Mary Rose Tobin. In the early part of the story, we're introduced to Christy, a once vibrant and successful electrical engineer who emigrated from Connemara, Ireland, to the United States. He enjoyed a distinguished career, notably working on hydroelectric stations and sending postcards from his various projects around the world. Christie maintained a close relationship with his cousin, the narrator's father, and often returned to Ireland for fishing trips that held deep sentimental value for both men. As Christie aged, his interactions with the narrator, Francie, dwindled to occasional meetings and Christmas cards. When Francie receives a call from a relative about Christie's declining health after a fall, she reaches out to him. She finds Christie living in a small, cluttered apartment, a stark contrast to the well-dressed gentleman she remembers. His once sharp mind now struggles with memory issues, hinting at the onset of Alzheimer's disease. Despite his deteriorating condition, Christie retains his gentlemanly demeanour and insists on taking Francie out to a familiar diner, where he's warmly welcomed by the staff who have known him for years.
Now I'll read a short extract from the story.
I learned during that first trip that Christie never left the apartment alone. A friend, Jack, drove out from Brooklyn a couple of times a week to take him grocery shopping and to go out to eat. It was Jack who called Ireland and said that someone had to do something. Christie is deteriorating before my eyes. I had many conversations with Jack in the weeks to come, while I came to conclusions about what had to be done about Christie. One thing was clear: he had planned to return to Ireland. The suitcase in the room gave me my opening. "That's a great-looking suitcase, Christie. Are you close to making that move home?" "Yes, soon." "This would be a great time to go. Everything is in bloom. The heather, the hawthorn, maybe even the fuchsia." He nodded. "Yes, as soon as the cuckoo leaves, the hawthorn blooms." "We should go together, Christie." "Yes, soon." All offers to help or make plans for him were politely declined. The distance that he maintained, that was always a part of him, was another reason for my delay in coming to grips with what I had to do about Christie. It seemed impolite to bridge that distance. In any situation where a choice was presented to him, he could not choose. Surprisingly, it took a simple trip to the supermarket to buy toothpaste for that reality to really sink in. "Tell me again the difference between them." "Well, this one is for sensitive teeth and this one is just regular." "What about this one?" "That's the one for sensitive teeth." "And the other one?" 3 months and many weekend visits later, the suitcase in the middle of the floor remained empty. By now, I had met Christie's landlord, Ed, many times. He and his wife Tricia did what they could for Christie, but they were older than he was, and they were beside themselves with worry. "You must take him away. We're afraid that something might happen to him. If you don't do something, we will call social services. We have to. We're afraid to go on vacation. Tricia, tell her." "I can't climb those steps up to his apartment any more. Look, we love Christie, but we worry all the time. What if he sets the place on fire? What if he falls again?" Their threat to call social services really frightened me. Lying awake that night, I added even worse what-ifs to Tricia's concerns. What if they put him somewhere awful? What if this gentle person is disrespected? But all the talk and reasoning I had done with Christie had achieved nothing. He would not leave with me. What could I do? I couldn't physically drag him to the airport. I called Ed and told him that the only solution was to evict Christie. It was cruel, I know, to both of them, but I could think of no other way. Together we made a plan for the following Saturday. "And Ed, it's important that Tricia be there too." Tricia broke in. She must have been on the extension. She said that of course she would be there.
So what happened next? Find out in the Write On Anthology 2025.
Hi, my name is Metsch, and I live and work in Westport County, Mayo. I'm a singer-songwriter and busker and visual artist, and recently I joined the Write On Circle, looking forward to their encouraging words and to our creativity as I write songs and poems throughout the year.
It's that time of year again, and the streets are full of lights. Another winter night begins, one of December's silent nights. For me it's time to sit back and remember all my friends, remember all they've done for me throughout this year, and write these lines for them. They're never far out of reach, though we don't meet every day. They stand by me, lend me their hand, companions on my way. They help me chase away my fears when I have to start all over again. We give and we take, and I won't forget what friends I have in them. A candle in my window will be burning all night long for all you dear ones that I know to shine into your home. And maybe as I think of you, you might as well think of me. So tonight let's share our candlelight and a song and a dream. It's that time of year again, and the streets are full of lights. Oh, how I love these winter winds, wishing you all were by my side. Maybe you too stay up tonight, thinking of what this year's brought. And maybe somewhere in the night we'll meet on crossroads of our thoughts. A candle in my window will be burning all night long for all you dear ones that I know to shine into your home. And maybe as I think of you, you might as well think of me. So tonight let's share our candlelight and this song. You help me chase away my fears when I have to start all over again. We give and we take, so we shouldn't forget. We've got friends. A candle in my window will be burning all night long for all you dear ones that I know to shine into your home. And maybe as I think of you, you might as well think of me. So tonight let's share our candlelight and this song and a dream.
My name is Seamus Keogh. I live in Mycullen, a village nestled in the uplands between the magnificent Corrib Lake and the sea in Galway Bay. The village sits under a canopy of constantly changing living skies, with a rising morning sun glow from the east and a dying amber evening light in the west as it sinks behind the Arden Islands. I'm a member of Write On for many years. Delighted to have some poems published in this year's anthology. Here's my poem, It Makes No Sense to Me. It makes no sense to me. Under a black smoke canopy, Maui burned in global warming. Flames spread, raced at pace. Too late to run, no escape. It makes no sense to me. Glaciers recede, day on day. Fresh water mingles with salt. As ice thaws and flows away. The earth is burning, it makes no sense to me. A child sits, a swollen belly. Flies walk across dry lips. Rest at the corner of its eyes. Its hunger a constant pain. It makes no sense to me. A family waiting to escape from Ukraine. Their last hope gone, no room on the train. It makes no sense to me. A cell of a church fading. Life in Christ on the abyss. Belief now a heathen choice. Crucifix a forgotten symbol. It makes no sense to me. People stand about a grave. Resurrection in their minds. Clay clatters on a coffin. Incredulous hope in heaven. It makes no sense to me. When people share pain, pray to their God to forgive. Break stride to help the lame. Humankind shows it cares. It would make sense to me.
Hi, my name is Joanne, and here are the fields of Athenry. I like the different shapes of fields, the trees and bushes and hedges. It's a busy time for farmers cutting hay at the moment. I like to write about what it's like to live now out in the countryside compared to many years ago when I was reared in a small farm about 30 miles away from here. For one thing, the roads are so much busier. And so I go to the forest with Leela or Collie. All you can hear are the birds singing. You can inhale the wonderful scent of the trees. The air is fresh and kind. Your thoughts might linger on the next scene in your story, the next stanza in your poem. It's a great place to be inspired, and your spirit is renewed. In some places, trees have fallen due to storms, but walkers have found a way to go around them, or they cut out a bit of it to get through. Just like writing, just like life, one just keeps going. We continue the journey. Sometimes we go around in circles, just like Leela and I in the forest. Anything for that quietness, that stillness, which we need so much. The site. Brian stopped the car. "Oh, it's absolutely fantastic," I cried. "Brian, what do you think? Don't you think it's the best one we've seen so far?" Brian looked at me with a smile. "It's a fine site," he said. "I have to agree with you there. It's massive. The big square must surely be more than an acre. There were no other houses in the vicinity except for the farmhouse. I imagined where our home would be, and the garage to the side, and the trampoline at the back, the swing, of course, at the front. In the distance there were open fields, and I could see myself walking through them, the puppy at my heels. 'Beware the dog,' said Brian. "What?" I stared at him. He was pointing at the house. A black dog had appeared in the front garden. His front paws rested on the wall and he was glaring at us contemptuously. Then, the silence at an end, he began to bark. The sound became louder and more intense. Bile assembled around the mouth, dripped onto the wall. I stared at the dog, transfixed. Then, seeing a movement, I looked up and saw a man standing on the path, a bit of a smile playing around the corners of his mouth. I waved, but there was no response. Surely he should be calling off his dog. The man was still one moment, and then he moved in a flash. He strode down the footpath and, lifting his right leg, kicked the dog in the stomach. The barking became a howling. The dog, bereft, stumbled away without giving his master a look. I leaned on the wall and tried to breathe. Brian grasped my hand. Should we just go? He whispered. No, we can't. Think of the sight. Brian sighed. 'Tis the sight you're after, is it? The man inside the gate said, his gravelly voice mocking in tone. We're just driving round looking at a few, said Brian. She'll come in for a cup of tea and meet the mother, the man said. Are you from these parts? No, we're from Galway. Come on in anyway, he said. He stood back, holding the gate open. Brian looked at me. Will we go in for a few minutes, so? I rushed ahead of him and headed for the front door. Inside, blinded by the darkness in the hallway, I had to put out a hand to feel the way. There was a wall, the hinge of a door, and then the door itself. I came to a large room with a kitchen table near a window and a television on a small table. A sofa had a brown rug thrown over it. Beside the range, a woman sat on a chair. This must be his mother. She wore a shiny apron. She looked at me nervously and gave me a smile that vanished soon after. The smell of stale food mingled with cigarette smoke, and there was also a whiff of the stable that might have come from outside or from his clothes. That's the mother, he said. Sit down there now. You'll have a cup of tea. Oh, no, thank you, I said, looking at the dirty mugs on the table. You'll have a cup of tea now, and that's it. We're very hospitable around here. He sat down at the head of the table and took up a knife and fork. Food left on the plate must be the remnants of his dinner. Fat had congealed around chunks of bacon, and the cabbage and potatoes were meshed together. He plunged the fork into a bit of the meat, topped it with the potato, and thrust it into his mouth. Please don't go to any trouble, I said. No trouble at all. Grease oozed from the pores of his skin, made visible by the sliver of light beaming through the net curtain. He beckoned to his mother and then looked at Brian. Sit down, will ye, for God's sake, he said, his mouth full. You're giving me a crick on my neck looking up at ye. I sat on one of the chairs and Brian sat on another. That sight is a beauty, isn't it? The man said. It is, said Brian. And is there planning permission? You betcha. The mother, who had gone to a glass cabinet, was fumbling with the catch. Can you not open it? He bellowed. She didn't make a sound. I declare to God, he said, and slammed his knife on the table. I have to do everything around here myself. He scraped back his chair from the table. What's wrong with bloody mugs? I got there before him. She stood back so I could reach the cabinet. At first I too struggled to open it, but then the catch gave way. Then, about to turn to my seat, I saw that she was waiting there without moving. She pointed at the china cups and nodded at me encouragingly. Then I understood that she meant me to remove them, that she wanted me to help her. I took 4 cups that had roses on them. I brought them to the table. She came behind with 4 matching saucers. Oh, for God's sake, the son said. We're only having a cup of tea. Mugs would have done us. I get the milk out the back, she whispered. The water is in that kettle there on the table. You can put it on to boil. Lord God, you're making a big job out of a cup of tea, he said, heaping the remains of the bacon onto the fork. I can tell you now, I've had a lot of interest in that site. It won't be there long, I can tell you that. He crammed the food into his mouth.
Hello, my name is Olga Peters, and I live in a small town not far from Berlin. My roots are German, but I was fortunate to be able to grow up in Ireland. I've now been living back in Germany for many, many years, but I return to Ireland several times every year. At some stage I discovered writing as a stimulating pastime, and some years ago I was lucky enough to find the Write On group and their online meetings, and with their help and encouragement I embarked on my first novel, which is set in Berlin during the war. I wrote it in English, and Write On published it on Amazon earlier this year. Naturally, I want to make my story as authentic and as interesting as possible, so a lot of research is involved. That means reading books that are often quite harrowing. But of course, my story only includes events and people that my main characters, Emma and Leo, experience themselves. The whole story is based on the lives of members of my family and what they went through in those awful years. And fortunately, I have a wealth of personal material, like photo albums, letters, a diary, with loads of fascinating detail to help me to construct my chronicle. And I also consult a map of Berlin from 1944 for the names of streets as they were then, or which have since disappeared completely. And at present I'm writing about 1942, so that a calendar of that year is essential material. And I've made a table of who was where, when, doing what, at what time, at least insofar as that material is available. All this, of course, is just the bare bones of my story, which I'm planning to continue in 2 further novels up to the year 1948. My task now is to fill this skeleton of facts and background info with real life, and to produce a story which will be entertaining and gripping and keep my readers reading into the small hours. So why don't you read my book and see for yourself whether I've succeeded or not? And now I'd like to read you a short extract from my book. It describes the first bombing raid on Berlin in August 1940. Emma, Leo, and their neighbor Frau Sonntag are in the huge public air raid shelter. Their baby Joe is inside a special anti-gas tent for infants. She looked around the huge, low-ceilinged room, which was illuminated by long stretches of neon lamps. It was filling up rapidly, and later she wondered if it hadn't contained far more than the 400 people for whom it was planned. Almost everybody was wearing their gas mask, and the sea of alien, insect-like heads was grotesque and frightening. People were talking in low, muffled voices, the sheer number of them creating a soft cacophony like an army approaching from afar. At the far end of the cavern were extra rooms, she knew. These had beds in them for people who were ill or even expecting mothers. There was also a kitchen back there and the washrooms. She moved closer to Leo and searched for his firm hand. "You look terrible," she said. "Do I? But this is my favorite piece of clothing." "It doesn't suit you. I hope it goes out of fashion soon." Emma turned to her neighbor. "Are you all right, Frau Sonntag?" she asked. "Yes, my dear, thank you." "Oh!" The murmured conversation of the people in the shelter stopped abruptly as the droning of the approaching aircraft became audible. Despite the huge building above them and the reinforced ceiling and walls of the shelter, the rumbling grew louder and louder, and Emma felt herself beginning to tremble. Now nobody was talking. The only sound came from the excited chattering of some small children and a wailing baby. She moved even closer to Leo, pulling Joe in his tent with her. The roar of the enemy planes seemed to be directly above their heads. The sudden clatter and boom of the anti-aircraft guns from a post somewhere in the vicinity added to the racket. She was anticipating the whining of the first bombs, the crash of the missile hurtling through a roof, the explosion, the thunder of disintegrating buildings above their heads, the screams of terrified women as the worst whiffs of gas seeped through the crack under the iron doors, the heat of flames outside. The planes roared on and on, their sound muted by the shelter around them, and gradually the droning faded away. The nearby guns stuttered and ceased, and after 15 minutes there was silence. There was deadly silence, too, in the huge shelter. They waited. "There go the bombs," murmured Leo. "What do you mean?" asked Emma. "They've dropped their bombs. Can't you hear them?" "No, I heard nothing. It must be very far away. God help the poor people there, wherever it is." Now and then there were bursts of distant anti-aircraft fire, but they could hear no explosions. The danger seemed to have bypassed them. Yet it was almost 3 hours before the all clear sounded. People began to pull off their gas masks, the heavy doors were opened, and the first hardy locals emerged cautiously up the stairs to street level. More and more people streamed out of the shelter. When Emma, Leo, and Frau Sonntag reached the surface, they were relieved to see that nothing had changed. Nothing at all. It was still a warm, late August night, or rather early morning. A slight breeze was moving the leaves at the tops of the lime trees on either side of the road. A black and white cat raced across the deserted street and ducked under a garden gate. The waning moon provided just enough light to demonstrate that life in Charlottenburg at 3:20 a.m. on this 29th of August was absolutely and completely normal.
Through the years, I have often strolled along the canal in Dublin, often finding inspiration and beauty there. The connection with Paddy Kavanagh is etched into the decades past, but not forgotten. If you listen closely, some of his words rise as echoes in a flutter, bringing to life again that past of wonderful poems. Recollection has paved its way through the poetry of my 3 published books, A Vertebrae of Journey, Purple Coat, and my latest, A Murmur of Ponies, which captures many sacred moments. Poetry is the most important way for me to make sense of the world, allowing me to channel my reflections into the stories of recall. Being a member of the Write On group has been a significant part of my creative journey. It has added a new dimension to my appreciation of the written word. The support and camaraderie of its writers has been insightful and relevant. Their positivity has both encouraged and prompted me to write on. I am indeed honoured to be included in the 2025 Write On Anthology. It now gives me great pleasure to read a poem from the book. One field once more. And out of a white stone cottage he came, above the smoke of whisper, with bog and cold fields rising, and lonely days of missing laughter. Bent beside a fireside, listening to the walls of rumour. That's all they could say. She's been crowned Queen of the Orphans, surrounded by the haunt of hymns, one pitch higher than another. Yes, the girl who was a neighbour's adopted daughter, the one with the silent tongue. Let her so. Steer her boat of wisdom, each testy wave embracing her in the wood of 1,000 ribs, where episodes are forever, where her heart is all horizon to the core. Let silence be her oars of observation, she of a stone-white cottage above the smoke of whisper, resting now on the shoulders of forever, scooped up at the gates of one field once more.
At this point in our presentation, we remember our guest writer Anne O'Callaghan, who sadly passed away in May. Although she is no longer with us, her words and spirit continue to touch us deeply. Anne's presence and talent are greatly missed by all who knew and loved her. In honour of Anne, we are featuring her poignant poem, The Poet Who Sat Beside Me on the Train, in Anthology 2025. You will now hear this beautiful piece read by Mary Rose.
The Poet Who Sat Beside Me on the Train, by Anne O'Callaghan. He sits beside me on the train as my baby nestles sleeping in my arms. Warm, bright clothes, new baby boots. In the cold dawn of a windy autumn day, I think of what lies ahead, what I've left behind. I'm torn. I can ring them every day, I can ring them every day, I can ring them every day. He asks my baby's name and where I'm going. Though I'm tired, I tell him. He is kind, unobtrusive, and buys me a cup of tea. As the train rushes through the grey landscape, houses wake up to a new day, figures move in kitchens, bedroom lights switch on, cars leave driveways. The dreaded day has come. Are you interested in poetry? Yes, I say, and this is true. He takes out his book of newly published poems, reads to me as my baby sleeps, his face animated, expressive, his voice in turn humorous, sad, angry, sardonic, embracing his life. I am honoured, fascinated. At the station, the cold air wakens my child. He helps me with my bags, opens the taxi door. Would you bring this woman to Cromwell Children's Hospital, please? He thanks me for listening to him and wishes me well. I do ring them every day, and after 3 weeks we come home, my baby weak but recovering, back in the real world again. We all know his face, recognise his voice, politician, philosopher, man of conviction, but to me he will always be the poet who sat beside me on the train.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Hannon. I've cherished my time with the Write On group. Today I'm enjoying the beautiful summer at Old Head outside Louisburg, a place dear to me. I'm thrilled to share my work in this year's anthology. Enjoy my poem, A Stolen Kiss. The Stolen Kiss by Elizabeth Hannon. Proud, she waited with bated breath, watched him moving forward with hands joined, watched as he reverently received the sacred host, then silently returned to his place with the other first communicants. Mass over, she moved quickly forward to claim the first kiss, the holy blessed first kiss from her wonderful son. Unbelievably, a neighbour stole it, the special blessing she had looked forward to receiving, never forgiven.
I'm Kathleen Phelan, a proud member of Right on Galway. I'd like to welcome you to my hometown, Kilkenny. I'm standing outside the old library in Kilkenny, which has given way to a new library across the river. Here I am, walking by the very colourful wall of the new library. It is very modern and a wonderful facility to have in Kilkenny. Now for a few words from the librarian, Katrina.
Hello from the new Mayfair Library here in Kilkenny. We're open since April, fabulous new building. It was originally a ballroom, then it was in the ownership of Smithwick's Brewery, and we, Kilkenny County Council, purchased it in 2014, and we opened our beautiful new building here in April 2024. So we're here at the literature section. So you have poetry, prose, plays, etc. So for all the would-be writers out there. So just wishing Kathleen Phelan, a regular member here, all the best in her writing endeavours, and best wishes to the Right On group and your performances during Culture Night in Galway. So hello to Galway from Kilkenny. Thank you.
Originally, the library was a ballroom where most people in Kilkenny, including myself, met their future wives and husbands. As you can see, it's now ultra-modern. I've already spent many happy hours here and look forward to many more. I'm sitting here now at my leisure, reading one of my favourite poets, Rita Ann Higgins. Here is my friend Anne Murray, reading my poem called Tapestry.
Tapestry in the Ladies' Club by Kathleen Phelan. A spectrum of colour in a cardboard box. Cotton remnants blended together, waiting to replicate the marsh outside our window, where at dawn the grey heron stands statuesque in the still water, his keen eye watching for minnow, frog or duckling. Either one will do, to take back to the hernery, to regurgitate and keep the chicks alive for another day. Where bulrushes stand proud in their velvet coats amid the marigolds, iris and purple orchid, and the fritillary butterfly hovers on the pink flowerheads of Devil's Bit to suck sweet nectar and lay her eggs on the underside of a leaf. Meanwhile, back at the centre, the whirring of the sewing machine means all is well, while a clanking sound could mean trouble. With a few drops of oil and sighs of relief, we could depend on the metal teeth of feed dog to continue where it left off, finally pushing our tapestry into existence.
Hi, I'm Anne McManus, part of the Write On group for many wonderful years. The enthusiasm of the members is truly inspiring, the feedback generous and insightful. It's a joy to be part of such an encouraging and supportive group. Gardening and writing, stories and poems are two of my greatest passions. Today I'm thrilled to share a short extract from my latest story, New Girls, which is published for the first time in our Write On Anthology 2025. I hope you enjoy it and feel inspired to find out what happens next. New Girls by Anne McManus. My phone is ringing. It has to be my mum. It's 7 a.m. I love her dearly, but not at 7 a.m. on my day off. I'm tempted not to answer, but she'll just keep on calling. What on earth is bugging her so early in the day? Should I sound sleepy or cheerful? I opt for sleepy. Hi, Mum. Oh, what's so important? It's my day. You'll never guess who's on Facebook this morning. Mum, it's my day off. It's too early. Couldn't it have waited? No. Take a look now. It's that girl you were friends with in school. Emma, or was she Emily? She was a nice girl. Mum, she was anything but nice. What do you mean, Tracy? I always thought she was a nice girl. Mum, I never told you the truth about Emily. What do you mean? Look, I don't want to go into that right now, Mum. It was a long time ago. She's not Emily now. She's Jessica Aylward. OK, Mum, I'll check it out later. Have to go now. Curiosity gets the better of me, so I go into Facebook, and sure enough, there she is. Emily. But she and I were never really friends. It's definitely Emily from our school days. We lost touch as soon as the Leaving Cert was over. She seems to have disappeared from our small town, never coming home. Now I'm wide awake. Emily, Jessica, has become an overnight success in London in G.B. Shaw's play St. Joan. Her once blonde long hair is now black, cropped like a boy's. She's much thinner than I remember, almost skeletal, dressed in what appears to be a suit of armour, not bright and shining, more like something she put together with whatever was available to Joan on the farm where she grew up. There are rave reviews. This is Joan of Arc as a feisty young girl, rough in speech, brimming with conviction, nothing saintly about her, a performance of sheer physicality, towering over the men who condemn her. There would be no going back to sleep now, so I lie in bed thinking back on how Emily and I first met.
Hi, my name's Deirdre Ann Gialamas, née Mooney. I'm charmed to have joined the Write On group early this year, and even more to feature in their most recent anthology. 4 years ago, I swapped sunny shores for the wet, wild west. I particularly enjoy cold and wet, windy weather. No, I haven't lived on Venus, but since early teens in progressively warmer cities, Dublin, London, Paris, New York, and finally Athens, where I raise my 2 children. I like pretending to garden in my overgrown space, where the weeds are colourful and the air crisp and clean. My Dublin father encouraged me to write. He often did as a hobby, and so I had a few pieces published in Paddy Crosby's page in the Evening Press in the 60s. I do hope I've improved since then. My mother was a Longford lass. I love being from both sides of the pale and readily defend both. I was born in County Roscommon and chose to return here as property prices and crime rates were the lowest in the country in 2020. Writing is a useful and enjoyable exercise for the grey matter and something that can be done anywhere, anytime, if inclined to, once we don't allow procrastination to visit. Gura míle, slán agus bannachs.
Burdened Bog by Deirdre and Gialamas. O burdened bog, what lies beneath your sodden store of history? Whisper in your windswept tones, speak to me of spirits starved under your purple furs, drowning in your acidic drink, final quenching of human thirsts. No Phidian beauties trod your hungry way, deep down into your darkest bowels, but slips of girls, hollow-eyed, with arms that pulled groping mouths to arid breasts. My back can feel the labour of long-lost turf-gatherers. I taste the rough, unbuttered bread they shared just after 12, when distant bells rang out the Angelus. I dare not walk your wet wilds alone, nor 'neath Irish moon your spongy mass of brown could bounce me up, draw me down, for they call to me, your voices through the heather, and wonder whether anyone had come to offer morsels from their larders.
My name is Frances Dermody, and this is O'Sullivan Park in Merview, on the east side of Galway City. It's just beside my home, so it's a very peaceful place for me to come just to go for a walk, or sometimes just to sit here and watch the world go by. I joined the Write On group earlier this year, and I find it's a really good mix of different writing genres and age groups. And Smelling of Roses was one of the first pieces I read for one of our weekly Zoom sessions. My hope is that by being part of a weekly group, it will keep me motivated to sit down and write, even for a few minutes every day.
Smelling of Roses by Frances Dermody. On her walk to work every morning, Kate stopped to admire the roses. Until last Monday, the sight and smell of pink roses had been enough to brighten her day. On her way home on Monday, she stole a single rose and gave it pride of place on her kitchen table. That rose was proof that she could still feel the thrill of something forbidden and fight back against the woman who hadn't felt excited about anything in a very long time. Stealing that one rose on Monday was enough to make her feel her heart pounding in her ears. By Wednesday, one rose was no longer enough to keep up that feeling. Yesterday, she had taken every last one of the roses, for the feeling only. Pink roses themselves had lost their appeal through their everyday presence in her kitchen. Upping the crime level had come with a feeling of being watched from a distance. Yet there was no evidence anywhere of the person who had nurtured the roses for years. This morning, police cars and cordons surrounded the rose garden. A dark-haired woman in a white plastic suit was taking soil samples close to the rose bush. Kate felt her heart pound in her ears all over again. Was she in trouble? Was she a suspect in some terrible crime? This was way better than stealing roses.
Hi there, this is Zara from Hyde Hotel. We're part of the Connacht Hospitality Group. I had the pleasure of meeting Miriam, Rose and Frank this morning, and I just want to give them a big good luck in their anthology for 2025.
Our journey with Write On began in 2019 with the release of the very first Write On anthology. A modest book of just 140 pages, it featured the works of 5 authors with contributions from several guest writers. It was small in scale but big in heart, representing the dreams of a passionate few. But oh, how we've grown. Fast forward to 2025 and our latest Write On anthology now boasts 28 authors from diverse backgrounds, sharing their unique voices and stories. What started as a small writing group has flourished into a vibrant creative community. Each book you see here is a reflection of that growth. Over the years we've published a wide range of anthologies, each packed with poetry, short stories and essays that reflect the essence of everyday life. They capture local legends, family histories, heartfelt experiences and imaginative fiction. And the beauty is that these stories, written by ordinary people, are rich in authenticity, offering relatable human experiences that everyone can enjoy. From our smallest collection to the more expansive volumes, these books are more than just pages of text. They represent our authors' journeys from hesitant first steps into the world of writing to developing their craft with confidence and flair. And as you watch these covers scroll by, know that every title is available in hardback, paperback and Kindle editions, making them the perfect gift for birthdays, Christmas, or simply as a treat for someone who loves a good story. Whether you're looking for a light read or something that makes you think, each of these books offers something special. They may not be written by famous authors, but they're full of real stories, honest, touching, and often unexpected. There's something truly magical about reading tales that feel like they could have come from your own neighbourhood, yet surprise you with their depth. So, as you see our journey unfold through these covers, we invite you to be part of the story. Explore the pages, meet the writers, and discover the worlds within these books. Thank you for supporting Write On, and here's to many more stories to come.
Hello, this is Kevin from It Music in Galway City. I want to wish Write On the best of luck with their 2025 anthology.
My name is Anne Murray. I've been a member of the Write On group for many years. Over the past while, I've learned how to use new technology, and it gives me great satisfaction to put together the PowerPoint video presentations every week. There's a fair bit of work in producing the videos. I have to research the photos, and I have to try and interpret what mood or atmosphere the author would like to have accompany their style of writing. Welcome to one of my favourite spots, right here at the edge of the pier in Barna in County Galway. As I stand here, looking out across the stunning expanse of Galway Bay on this bright summer's evening, I'm reminded of why this view is such an inspiration to me. Across the water, you can see the beautiful townlands of Clare and the majestic Burren Mountains standing tall and proud. This breathtaking scenery is a wellspring of inspiration for any writer. I often find myself drawn here to this very place whenever I need a spark of creativity. There's something magical about the way the light dances on the water and the serene yet powerful presence of the mountains. Tonight, I'm thrilled to share with you one of my own pieces of writing, inspired by places and moments like this. The story begins with Paddy, a young man from Mayo, reminiscing about his childhood in the shadow of Croagh Patrick and his fascination with Darnish Island, bought by John Lennon in 1967. Paddy was a Beatles fanatic, dreaming of seeing his idols and spending his early years saving money to buy their records. In 1972, Paddy got a job as a barman on a cruise ship. There he unexpectedly meets John Lennon, who was impressed by Paddy's Mayo roots and his dedication. This chance encounter is a dream come true for Paddy, and it remains a cherished memory as he returns to his duties, invigorated by the meeting. I hope you enjoy this extract of A True Mayo Man. They chatted for a few minutes. Paddy told him all about Croagh Patrick, about his record collection. As he made to leave, John stood up and shook his hand. "Great to meet a fellow Mayo man," he said. "I'll see you around the ship." "Not likely," says Paddy. "I don't always have access to this area. Thrilled to meet you, though. A dream come true." As he made his way back to the Windjammer, he was wild with excitement. He was bursting to tell his passengers about who he had met in the VIP lounge, but that would be disloyal to his friend John. For the rest of the cruise he shook the cocktails with more vigour than usual, and late at night treated his guests to a few Beatles favourites. The guests mooched around the floor to the sound of Let It Be and The Long and Winding Road. When the last day of the cruise arrived, Paddy couldn't bear to leave the ship without one last encounter with his idol. As the ship docked at Pier 88, the Manhattan cruise terminal, he made his way to the departure gate. His luck was in. There, waiting to disembark, was John and his entourage. As Paddy approached, John saw him. "My neighbour, the Irishman," he called, stretching out his hand. Over John's shoulder, Paddy spotted a limo pulling up on the dock. "Sorry, John, can't stop now," says Paddy, indicating the limo on the dockside. "My car is just pulling up on the dock." "Great to meet you, though. Here's my number, keep in touch."
Hi, my name is Mary Hodson, and I live here in a small village on the borders of Sligo Leitrim in Dromahair. I enjoy life here with John and the children and grandchildren, and I enjoy my garden. I joined Right On a couple of years ago and really enjoy the camaraderie with the writers and poets and the fantastic support that we get. We meet every week on Zoom, which is lovely, but we also have the opportunity to meet for tea, coffee and buns, and to celebrate particular occasions like book launches. I'd like you to join me in a journey through Tobin, which is a spiritual, reflective place that has been around for generations. And my family have walked in those paths around Tobin for many, many, many years and many generations. I go there quite frequently. When my children were young, we went there quite a lot. Indeed, our younger daughter, actually had her wedding photographs taken there. I now take the grandchildren there, and they love throwing stones in the water and making a wish and lighting a candle. And I enjoy the place quite a lot because it's absolutely very scenic, very tranquil, very spiritual, and of course it has the historical significance. Please enjoy a journey with me as I walk through the peaceful, scenic Tobin. Now, I'd like to introduce you to an extract from one of my stories from the Anthology 2025, The Lady in the Blue Dress. I hope you enjoy it.
Lady in the Blue Dress by Mary Hodson. Saturday nights were a jubilee of music and movement in the ballroom above, where the Kilfenora Ceilidh Band played. Their tunes coaxing even the weariest feet to dance. Kathleen, in her cherished blue dress, swirled and swayed, her high heels clicking rhythmically on the wooden floor. She lived for the moments when her country gentleman, shy but earnest, would arrive. Spotting his entrance, bicycle clips removed, Kathleen's heart would skip a beat. "I was wondering, Kate," he stammered one night, his dark hair combed to a glossy sheen, "if you might save a dance for me." Kathleen's laughter was a melody that matched the band's rhythm. "I thought you'd never ask, Andy." Their dance was a tale of two like minds, finding their rhythm. A quick step, followed by a waltz. Their movements a silent conversation of tentative hopes and shared smiles. It was for May's wedding that Kathleen first chose the blue dress from Smartwear. The dress was a promise, paid for in instalments, with the coins she earned, each a testament to her hard work. "Ah, Kathleen, you look like a dream," May, her best friend, exclaimed, as Kathleen twirled before the mirror, the dress hugging her figure just so. Andy, ever the gentleman, only came for the evening celebrations, his eyes never leaving his Kate, in the blue dress that mirrored the twilight sky. "You look mighty," he whispered, as they danced, the music enveloping them in a world of their own. Decades later, the blue dress was more than a garment. It was a legend within their family, a beacon of a love story that spanned over 50 years. Her grandchildren would gather around, their eyes wide with wonder, as they pointed at the photograph on the mantelpiece. "Tell us again about the lady in the blue dress, Granny," they'd plead, and Kathleen, her eyes misting with the tender sheen of reminiscence, would begin the story anew. "The lady in the blue dress," she'd start, her voice soft as the embrace of dusk, "is a tale of love, of dance and dreams, and how a simple dress can hold the heart of a lifetime." In this way, the legend of Kathleen, the lady in the blue dress, would dance through the generations, as timeless as the memories woven into the very fabric of the dress itself.
Hello, I'm Mary Rose Tobin. One of my greatest joys is walking along the beautiful beaches of Connemara with my dog, Colleen. The fresh air and stunning views of the wild Atlantic Way bring me peace and inspiration. Take a moment to appreciate this wonderful scenery. Where else in the world would you see vistas like this? It's more like a moonscape than a landscape. I do these walks as often as I can. There's something incredibly calming about being surrounded by nature's beauty, with the sound of the waves and the feeling of the sand underfoot. It's during these moments that I find my thoughts wandering, often leading to new ideas for my writing. Another passion of mine is singing. I love performing with my local choir, where we come together to create beautiful music and share in the joy of song. Singing has always been a way for me to express myself and connect with others. There's a special kind of magic that happens when voices blend harmoniously, filling the room with music. Our choir is like a second family to me. We support each other not just in our musical endeavours but in all aspects of our life. Being part of this group has enriched me in so many ways, and I treasure every moment we spend together. Today, I'm pleased to introduce an excerpt from my short story, Piano Man, featured in this year's Write On anthology. This story is particularly close to my heart, as it explores themes of passion, identity, and the choices we make in life. I hope you enjoy this reading and feel inspired to explore the entire story. Piano Man by Mary Rose Tobin. The invitation to the reunion sat at the edge of Chris's cluttered piano, a stark white against the backdrop of scattered sheet music and lesson plans. It seemed out of tune with the rhythm of his days, which now marched to the steady beat of piano lessons, the adrenaline of weekend gigs, and the songwriting that filled his rare free nights. He had no intention of going to the reunion. That part of his past was long behind him, but the memories began to flood back anyway. 25 years had passed since the day Chris, alongside his classmates in the medical faculty, had donned the cap and gown. He could still remember the faces of his classmates, bright with the promise of healing others. Chris had walked the same stage and grasped the same diploma, but there the similarities ended. While his peers successfully navigated their internships and hospital placements, he had foundered under the pressures of clinical rotations. In particular, the ugly rages of consultants proved more than his spirit could bear. Today he was working on a song, his entry for the Galway New Music Festival competition. The prize money would come in useful, and he had some promising ideas. The song would be a reflection on his own life, written in the style of a Bob Dylan ballad. His eyes moved to the framed photograph over the bookcase. A small boy with blonde curls and piercing blue eyes sitting at a piano, his little fingers effortlessly coaxing out intricate tunes. Despite his tender age, everyone said his musical talent was unmistakable. Yet, Chris was aware that the image did not reveal the full story. A restless energy flickered behind the youthful gaze. His younger self was racked with tension and anxiety. The photograph nudged him towards some lines for his song.
In a room filled with silence, a tiny boy plays, bouncing curls shining in the camera's gaze, blue eyes piercing through melodies fine, a whole world of dreams each note would define.
Hi, I'm Frank Fahy. Have you ever wondered where the spark of creativity comes from? How a simple moment can ignite the imagination? Today I invite you to discover the inspiration behind Breaking Altitude, one of my stories from the Write On anthology. While strolling through Galway City during the International Arts Festival, I was immersed in the vibrant energy of the streets. They were alive with the skill of acrobats, the wonder of magicians, and the music of buskers.
Your name it is heard in high places. You know the arbiter. He said you race horse for Christmas, and you keep it just for fun, for a laugh.
It was in this lively atmosphere that I encountered a Mr. Harkle, skillfully bringing his marionette to life. As I watched, a helicopter soared overhead, likely on a mission of urgency, carrying someone to the hospital. This moment sparked a train of thought. A friend of mine recently achieved his dream of becoming an Air Force helicopter pilot. He's the epitome of adventure, embodying the spirit of Tom Cruise in Top Gun. He's always seeking the next thrill, whether it's cliff diving with Icarus wings, bungee jumping in New Zealand, or scuba diving in the Great Barrier Reef. In contrast, my life is far less daring. But watching The Puppeteer that day, I realised something profound. Life, much like a puppet show, isn't always in our control. The strings are often pulled by unexpected events. This blend of my friend's adventurous spirit, the sight of the helicopter, and the puppeteer's performance inspired me to write Breaking Altitude. I hope you enjoy it. Breaking Altitude by Frank Fahy. Every Halloween there's a whisper of magic in the Texan air, a subtle rustle through the yellowing oaks that foretells adventure. But this year was different. The whisper turned into a shout as Roy, my daredevil of a husband, decided it was the right time for our kids to break altitude. Roy was a skilled helicopter pilot, his heart divided between the skies and us, his family. He believed that the horizon broadened perspective and fostered bravery. It was a chilly morning, the sun just winking into the sky when he disclosed his plan over a cup of coffee. "Carol," he said, his eyes sparkling with excitement, "I've got a surprise for the kids. I'm going to take them up in the chopper this Halloween. Imagine the view, the whole of Texas stretching out below, pumpkin patches dotting the earth. It's going to be epic." I choked on my coffee, the words stumbling out in a rush. "Are you out of your mind, Roy? That's against every rule in the book. It's dangerous. They're just kids." "Oh, come on, Carl. I've flown in the worst of weather, in dangerous zones. The sky is home to me, and I've done this 1,000 times. What could be better for my kids than to experience what I do, see the world from above?" I knew arguing with Roy was a futile endeavour when his mind was set. But the mother in me couldn't let it go. "Roy, they're just 8 and 10. What if something goes wrong? I can't even bear to think about it." He came over, his hands gently holding mine. "I promise you, nothing will happen. I'll keep them safe." His reassurances did little to quell the storm brewing within me, but I saw the gleam in Emily and Temmie's eyes when they were told about the trip. Their laughter filled the room, their imagination soaring high with each passing hour. The day arrived much sooner than I wanted. As they stepped out, the morning sun cast long shadows on the driveway. Roy, in his army fatigues, looked like a hero from the kids' bedtime stories, ready to whisk them away on an adventure. Emily and Temmie couldn't contain their excitement, their faces bright, cheeks flushed against the morning chill. I stood there at the doorway, the house suddenly echoing with silence, and the emptiness gnawing at me. The hours dragged on, my mind imagining the worst. I busied myself in the kitchen, the aroma of pot roast filling the house, a feeble attempt to drown my fears. As the day bade adieu, casting long, haunting shadows, the distant thud of the helicopter blades cutting through the cool evening breeze reached my ears. My heart leapt with a blend of relief and joy. I paced around the kitchen, the seconds stretching out like hours, until at last the front door swung open and in they burst, the setting sun casting a warm glow on their faces. I hugged Emily first, her tiny frame engulfed in my arms. "Oh, my baby, you're back," I whispered, my words trembling against her soft hair. She giggled, squirming out of my embrace, the thrill of adventure still dancing in her eyes. Temmie jumped into my arms next, his laughter ringing through the quiet evening. "Mama, it was like touching the sky, like holding the clouds in our hands." His words tumbled over each other, the excitement bubbling out. I held him tight, his innocent joy a balm to my jittery nerves. Roy stood there, a smug smile curving his lips, his eyes meeting mine with that "I told you so" gleam. "See, Carl, nothing to worry about. It was just a little Halloween magic, a tale they'll tell for years." I wanted to hold on to my annoyance, but the relief washing over me was too strong. I let out a shaky laugh. "You're incorrigible, Roy." We walked back to the dinner table, the children's chatter filling the rooms that had been hauntingly quiet just a few hours ago. They raced each other over to the table, their laughter echoing through the hallway. As we settled down, the aroma of pot roast mingling with our tales of mundane and adventure, I felt a peace I hadn't felt the entire day. The clinking of the cutlery against the plates, the sparkle in Roy's eyes, the children's animated gestures, it was a snippet of normalcy I had craved. Just as I was beginning to relish the ordinariness of the moment, a loud knock reverberated through the room. With a sinking heart, I opened the door to find two stern-faced officers. The world around me blurred as their words cut through the evening haze, shattering my reality into a million pieces. "We're sorry to inform you, ma'am," the officer said, his voice a distant echo. "There's been a crash. Your husband and children..."
Hi, I'm Josephine McCann. I live within walking distance of the promenade here in Salt Hill. I'm surrounded now by members of my family, past and present generations. Although I'm not from Galway, I have many memories of holidays I enjoyed here as a child. It is a privilege to have spent my married life in Galway and to have reared our 3 sons almost on the shore. Now, in retirement, when possible, I love to start my day by walking towards the sea, heading down the brambled lane adjacent to Rushing Bay, hearing the birdsong chirping from the brambles, the sound of long grasses blowing in the wind, and I salute Gentian Hill, which guards our bay. The cacophony of sounds from the water hitting the shore, always different, ranging from gentle to sharp, rough, splashing waves. As I make my way towards the iconic structure of Black Rock Diving Tower, the green of the golf fairways have their own beauty and attraction. The emerging daylight from the east highlights the varieties of blue shades of the sea. I'm never alone. Walkers, runners, all getting started on their day, and so onto the promenade and watch the swimmers, some dippers, others very seriously making their way towards the boys out on the water. I never tired of this vista. My love of it is such that I try to reflect it in the paintings that you will see. Since joining Right On last year, I know I'm not alone in appreciating the beauty that surrounds us here in Galway. And through it, We have a platform through which we can express our thoughts and musings via poetry, short stories, and if one so wishes, a full book. I hope you enjoy my contribution for Culture Night 2024, If the Prom Could Talk, read now by Anne Murray. Thank you for watching and listening.
If the Prom Could Talk by Josephine McCann. I'm too old for this coast, yet here I stand, a permanence in hues of grey, gnarled and chipped by eons of tread. My life trundles on, energetic runners morning and evening, outpaced strollers who embrace me throughout the day. Emotions of the walkers betrayed by the rhythm of their steps, journeying to unravel life's woes. I absorb their moans and joys. Gossip and hard-luck stories abound. But who listens? High heels, battered boots, sandals, and dog waste. Never mindful of their impact on my slabs. I too have feelings. Just look at my decay. Cracks with water seeping through. When it freezes, pressure deep in my fissures. Yet I will not yield. I am steadfast. While you're cosseted in the warmth of home, I'm often bashed by debris thrown ashore. Don't forget the stench, the slime, litter, and the gunge of seaweed, and those who blame their last drink. The trees may have their wood-wide web, but our inanimate collection of sand, pebbles, rocks, and cement has ways to communicate. We wobble, vibrate, and weave our message along our pathways. We know who you are and what lies you tell, and who you have deceived. We share the whoppers and whispers we've overheard as walkers weave their path. I do have my treats. Night morphs into morning. Sunrise, grey mist, or storm horses at sea, hurled in a new day, always a joy to see. Blue, violet, orange, and yellow, atmospheric sunsets of which I never tire. How I love a full moon after a day of rain. Each shimmering puddle reflects into the black night its own full, perfect moon.
Here we are beside the waterfall in Spiddle, County Galway. It is wonderful to watch the gushing water going out to the Atlantic Ocean, one of nature's most beautiful sights. Thank you all for watching our Culture Night video. We're excited to announce that our Write On Anthology 2025 is now available on Amazon in hardback, paperback and Kindle. All funds raised go back into the Write On group, helping us to publish more books and to support our literary activities. In today's rapidly changing world, especially with AI, our skills are constantly evolving. Write On isn't just a writing group. We embrace new technology and develop skills in video, audio, computing and more. You've seen our members' creativity in this video using PowerPoint, iMovie, ChatGPT, DALL-E to enhance their work. We're a welcoming hub of learning in all things literary. Why not join us? Visit www.writeon.ie to find out how you can be part of the journey. See you next year. Bye.
Well, I'm sliding into the ocean and I'm watching the sun come up.
and the welcome, it gathers round me like a swirl in a coffee cup. And I feel right at home. Salty waters I've always known. And the ocean is the place that calms my mind. I am in the ocean, and the ocean is in me. And it is where I come from, the salty living sea. All the things it has, from elephants to bears, all breathing from the start, with 4 parts to each heart. And I'm floating in the loving arms of the mighty ocean blue. All she wants is to stay alive, and that depends on me and you. All the garbage that we throw, plastic mountains that we grow, all the fish we take away.
I've forgotten the third thing, but it sounded great in rehearsal.
I am in the ocean, and the ocean is in
Right
me.
on Anthology 2020.
This is where I come from, the salty living sea.
Something.
All the things we have, from elephants to bears, all breathing from the start, with 4 parts to each heart. And I'm walking up the sandy beach, and I'm listening to the ocean roar. She says, please refrain from taking me for granted anymore.
Audio,
we can save heart if we choose.
Images,
we have
animation. Okay, take 2.
Without her loving care, well, what are we? I am in the ocean, and the ocean is in me. And it is where I came from, the salty living sea. All the things it has, from elephants to bears, all breathing from the start, with 4 parts to each heart. Sliding into the ocean, and I'm watching the sun come up.